Hey there everybody, my name's Kat Bowser. I'm your resident fantasy therapist and welcome to my channel. Those of you here for the first time, welcome. My name is Kat Bowser. I'm a licensed therapist. I'm also a writer working on my first novel. And on my channel, I like to talk about what I consider to be the heart of all writing, and that is in the characters. And the heart of the characters is their psychology. So that's the angle I like to take with pretty much everything I talk about on my channel. Alright guys, so before we get into the extra video for this week, I just wanted to throw out there, we have now hit 75 subscribers. Yay! Thank you guys so much. So that means we're having another giveaway. So make sure that you wait till the end of the video. I will let you guys know how you can enter and what you look to win. So what is this extra video about? This is one I've actually been thinking about for a little bit. And I don't want to come on here and, talk about the books that I hate and everything, even though I'm sure every writer has books that they absolutely despise. But what I did want to talk about is what techniques or literary devices or things like that in books kind of turn you off to them. And this is obviously all personal opinion. This is just what doesn't work for me. Maybe something I list here works for you. That's great. These are things that I don't like, that I would not consider to be a trope, because that is a completely different video. So that being said, I've got 5 of them. So I'm just going to name them off one at a time. So first one, thing that turns me off to a book, poor pacing. Oh, this one I think is really hard because it's frustrating, but at the same time, it's also one of the things in a book that is so hard to get right. Much as I don't like books that have poor pacing, I won't lie and say that I've never done poor pacing. I've had to go back and edit it and fix it. Because really, this is something that is an in-betweener. If you go too slow, then you're going to lose your audience and they're not going to want to continue reading. If you go too fast, then your audience really doesn't have time to connect with your characters. So you really kind of have to find that sweet spot in between the two. And it takes some doing. I mean, I think this is probably one of the things that I personally fix the most when I go back and I edit drafts, is the pacing. And I think for me, because like I've said before, I really enjoy slow burns. So I purposely will go slow. And so sometimes I have to go back and I have to speed it up just a little bit, just because it's going a little too slow. So poor pacing, that's one that just bothers me. All right, number 2, flat characters. I want to bring up a point here. I have no problem with a static character that's interesting. Static characters, for those of you who are unaware, are characters that don't go through a character arc. They don't change. And while that's not my favorite, I think it can be done well if you have a character that's interesting. And if it's more of a plot-driven book, that kind of makes more sense too. So, but what I'm talking about are characters that just, there's not anything to them. They're very bland. They don't have much of a personality. I don't know what their motivations are. I don't know what their fears are. I don't know what their likes are. And I think sometimes authors, like I've said in other videos, do this because they want the audience to kind of be able to put themselves in the character's shoes. I really think that's a bad idea, because you still have to hook your audience. You still have to have them interested in your story. And if you have a character that's just plain not interesting, then that's really not going to work very well. So I am always for, take as much time as you need to develop your character before you start writing. Some people, they have to do it as they write. That's fine. I like to develop the bulk of my characters before I start writing, and I leave a little wiggle room so that we can kind of discover a few things along the way. But I really think you should at least have like their core fear down. Like I've said in one of my old videos, where I talk about how I develop characters, one of my key things is figuring out what they are afraid of. Because all fear is based on loss. You're afraid of losing something. And so if you know what your character can't stand the thought of losing, you know what they value. and that already tells you a lot. So, flat characters. I have to like the characters to like the story. Um, I'll give you guys a really good example. The Hunger Games. I love the plot. I love the side characters. I love the villain. I cannot stand Katniss. uh, and at first it wasn't so bad, but by the time I got to the end of the book, I honestly did not care anymore. I did not care. And I think that's worse than hating the main character. Because if I hate the main character, at least there's a passion there. There is an interest. Not caring, I think that's the worst thing that can happen with a writer's characters, is that you make characters that people just, they don't care what happens to them. So, flat characters, no thanks. Number 3. How do I want to phrase this? Unsatisfying endings. I say the word unsatisfying because I personally like happy endings. That's me. I love a happy ever after. However, it does not work with every single story. Some stories need a sad ending. Some stories need a bittersweet ending. But what I can't stand is when at the end of the story, there isn't really a resolution. It just kind of stops. And I think that's even different than an open ending. I'm not a fan of open endings, but you can do them well. There is a way to do them well. What I'm talking about, though, is when it seems like the author just got tired and stopped. Because then you're left with story arcs that aren't complete. You're left with questions that have been unanswered. And as a reader, I don't expect every single thing that I have a question about to be answered. I understand that's not going to happen. But I should get my major answers. There shouldn't be like huge gaping holes with, okay, what happened? What did I miss? Because that's unsatisfying. And most of the time, these kind of endings are enough for me to not pick up the author again. Because if I've been sticking with a book all the way to the end, and then I get hit with something like this, I usually get so disgusted. I'm like, nope, I'm not going to do it again. Because you devote a lot of time and energy to these characters by following them through this journey. So when it ends up like that, not a fan. All right, number 4, empty world building. So this one, I want to make something real clear. I'm not saying you have to have excessive world building in your story. You do not. I personally like world building. Some people don't, though, and that's fine. But what I am talking about, though, is that the scenarios your characters are in, the areas that they're going to be in the most, I need to be able to picture them. I need to be able to feel something from them. So, like, let's say that one of the key environments in your story is, let's say it's village's healers building hut, whatever. I need to be able to picture it. I need to be able to get a sense of, why does your character keep coming back here? Why is this a prominent location? What kind of mood do you get from this place? Because that is a great way to do contrast when you take the character out of a familiar circumstance. Contrast works really well at conjuring up emotions, and that's what you want to do when you're doing a story, is you want to generate emotion from your reader. So if I'm just following this character around and nowhere they go really feels special or unique or important to them, I kind of get lost, and I just, the emotion isn't there. So, empty world building. You don't have to build me a whole world, but you need to at least give me a snapshot of it. All right, last one, number 5. And I saved this one for last because this is the one that drives me nuts the most. And that is unfulfilling character arcs. Okay, I've gone over this a lot in the past, so I'm not going to dwell on it too much. But if you're going to do a positive character arc, you need to take your time with it. If you're going to redeem someone over the course of 2 weeks, I am not going to buy it. If you're going to do a negative character arc, I need to believe it. I need to see how this character is falling, how they have lost their morals and they have given up. I need to be able to see it. I need to believe it. I need to feel it. When that doesn't happen, it feels cheap. It feels manipulative. I can't talk today. Manipulative, and it's just unsatisfying. And most of the time, it really turns me off on the character because now, as far as I'm concerned, they're an unrealistic character. And while I'm not talking that I need every single character in a story to be 100% realistic, I mean, I love fantasy, so I'm writing about unicorns and centaurs and creatures that don't exist. No, what I'm talking about though is they need to feel like an actual person, like the way they react to things could actually happen, and that's what gets missed when you have these unfulfilling character arcs. So that is my big beef with these character arcs, because I really think the character arc is usually the center point or one of the center points of the story. So if you mess it up, it's really obvious. And I think a lot of times what happens with a bunch of these is people rush them. And that goes back to the pacing thing that I mentioned in the first point. Take your time with these. I know a lot of times people get excited because they're like, I know where this character is going to end up. I want to get there. That's fine. But remember, the audience doesn't know what you know. They don't know, you know all the ins and outs of this character and why they did this, why they did that, why they feel this, why they changed. We don't. You have to tell us. You have to show us. So take your time. So those are the top 5 things that can kind of turn me off from a book. And with that said, it's time to talk about the giveaway. So I will be giving away 2 gift cards, both to Amazon, one for $25, one for $15. And all you have to do to enter is you need to subscribe to my channel if you have not already, and leave me a comment on this video about what are the things that turn you off to books. What are the things that you don't like to see in terms of literary techniques. And a week from today, so this is Monday, so next Monday, I will be picking 2 people at random, and I will be sending you guys your Amazon gift card. So good luck to all of you, and I look forward to reading the comments below. As always, I love to respond to them, so I can't wait to see what you guys come up with. And if you guys have not subscribed yet, obviously subscribe so you can know when I upload. And I will see you guys in the next video, and best of luck.